Welcome to my 2023 games streamed tier list. I've played 7 games in 2023, and now it's time to determine their rankings. xiii Golden. I started in November 2021, but I finished it in 2023 in like January, so it counts. This one, I'm a huge Persona fan. Persona 3 is my favorite. Really excited for Reload. But Persona 4 really didn't work for me. I felt like the characters, they either didn't have arcs at all or they backtracked on their arcs. I just didn't like them. There was a lot of stuff in there that bothered me, like the fat phobia, the homophobia. It was really rampant. I didn't like the dungeon aspect of it much at all, which is interesting because Tartarus doesn't really bother me for some reason. I don't know. All of them felt very like similar kind of themes. And so for me, it's really hard to try and remember what each character's problem was that they were facing. And unfortunately, I was spoiled on who the big bad was. So there's also that. But Nanako, best character. The only redeemable quality about P4 for me was the gameplay, obviously. I love the gameplay of Persona, but Persona 4 is trash. And we're moving on. Fire Emblem Engage. I love Fire Emblem. I started with Awakening, loved it to pieces. I loved Three Houses as well. My favorite Fire Emblem characters in Three Houses. Once again, kind of similar to how I felt about P4, I really loved the gameplay for the most part. I didn't love the like summoning feature in this. I felt like it was kind of whatever for me personally. But in general, I do love that how Fire Emblem games play. But this one, all the characters didn't feel like very deep or meaningful to me. Some of them were really cute, like Lynn. And also the femboy whose name I forgot because that's how memorable it was. But like, I tried to romance that boy, and listen, I'm still salty about it, but he friend zoned me. That really pissed me off, I'm not gonna lie. Like, why would you do this to me? And also the story was extremely predictable for me. Like, there wasn't really much redeeming about it except the visuals. I know, right? I was really pumped about a new Fire Emblem, and this was an anniversary game, you know? And that's basically what they set out to do, and they did it. But I'm also gonna put this in trash. All right, FF7, my very first Final Fantasy game that I've completed. I played the OG version through Steam. This game had a lot of hype backing it, and I was a little bit nervous to play it, but I always wanted to play it ever since I knew it existed. My first introduction to Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy IX, and I adore 9 to bits and pieces. But I have never finished 9, so I'm gonna do that in 2024. But FF7 was an experience. I haven't played too many PS1 games at this point. I still haven't really, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will say the mini games were my least favorite aspect of the game. And I also felt like Disc 1 was the best part, besides the ending. The middle bit was a little bit iffy for me. I felt like it had a little bit of pacing issues. And it's not quite as memorable as as Disc 1 and the ending were. I think it was really good though. I really liked the story a lot. I liked most of the characters. I love Aerith. I love Cloud. I like Red. I don't know, just a lot of good characters in this. I would say that this game, do I put it in good or amazing though? because there were a lot of mini games. I only liked like a couple mini games, but also the Steam version, again with the controls, was very, very poorly optimized, as in like not at all. I want to say, God, I don't know. I'm gonna put it in good for now. And then we watched Advent Children, and then I went into Crisis Core Reunion when that released. Now, Crisis Core, I was always curious more about Zach's character. I didn't really know like much about him. I know he's pretty popular though, so I was curious to see his story. I will say the story in Crisis Core, what was that? I'm still quite not entirely sure what happened there near the end. I don't know, but by the end, I will say I got very attached to Zach. I thought he was a really cute character. The combat was okay. I didn't like hate it or anything, but I also didn't love it. I basically just used Faraga the entire time the game let me. Sephiroth was there, that was really cool, but we didn't see too much of him. Angeal couldn't really care less about, to be honest. There were some twists, but I felt like for the most part it was kind of predictable. I'm gonna put this in good. I forgot these games. After Crisis Core, I played xiii Remake. This game is beautiful. I loved the graphics. I'm not a huge graphics person, but it was awesome to like play OG first and then see like how far we've come. And then also just to see like how beautiful Cloud and Aerith were especially. And I mean Sephiroth too isn't half bad. The gameplay, I understand why they didn't want to do turn-based, but at the same time, we could have had it all. I don't know. The story, I like that we got more in depth with characters. But what I didn't love was near the end of Remake. Not really sure how I feel about it. The boss fights also just took forever. So I didn't love the gameplay a lot. Like, it was fine. And the story was, I knew it would be different, but I didn't realize how different they were going. There was some cool hype moments though in the end, I will say. But I think I'm gonna put this with had issues with. I'm still excited for Rebirth, and I'm still planning on playing the rest of these games. But I can't have the same hype that a lot of other people have simply because of the ending. And like, I don't know what they're gonna do. But I'm curious to see where it goes. I don't know if anybody else feels this way. It just was very weird. Alright, next I played FF6, the Pixel Remaster. Listen. I went into this with an open mind. I know this is a beloved one. It didn't work for me. And I think it's because even though it had a cool world and like a really cool like concept behind the story, I feel like because they focused so hard on having a lot of characters, none of the characters really got any development. And the story was fine. I didn't think it was anything amazing. Felt like very, like it's been done before kind of deal. I know Kefka is beloved as a villain. He was cool, but like, I don't understand the hype, honestly. I don't really typically like villains who are just evil to be evil. I kind of want like a little bit more out of my villains. I loved the gameplay though. I liked, you know, how some characters played really, really differently than others. Terra didn't really feel like a main character at all. So I'm not sure why she's considered the main of the main characters. I'm gonna put this with I had issues with it. because I have a lot of issues with it, and I honestly just don't understand the hype. Too many characters, way too many. Yeah, I just feel like you have a huge cast, but you didn't really do anything with them, right? Hadn't been done so much back then. Yeah, I know. And I tried to keep, like, my opinions fair, but it's, like, I understand that this was a game that was made, like, what, on the SNES, I think? So there were a lot of, like, constraints with technology at the time, and, like, maybe they couldn't do more because they focused on, like, a big cast, or, like, I don't know, because I haven't played 4 or 5 yet. But that's just my feelings. I try to be as open-minded and unbiased as possible, but I'm a mere mortal. And I do tend to have biases and just preferences and things that I personally enjoy. I grew up with the PS2 era, so like my standards might be a little too high. But I did finish the game, so I didn't drop it. So like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the dinosaur forest a lot. I enjoyed the gameplay a lot, and the soundtrack was bangin'. FF6's story is amazing though. The villain literally wins and succeeds in destroying the world. Yeah, that's usually people's like argument. That was a cool moment, but like for me to have that moment actually like impact me, like I'd have to feel more for the characters involved, and also like more emotions like for Kefka as a villain. I feel like Kefka had no motivations for anything that he did. He was just like literally crazy. And I don't know, it's not that compelling to me. Kefka's a Joker reskin without the vat of chemicals to explain it. Yeah, thank you. There's like no reason. Like I was waiting all game for a singular reason. Like just a crumb of a possibility for motivation, and I never got it. So that was really disappointing. FF8 remastered. I know that this is a controversial game, and I'm happy to say that I love this game a lot. Squall beat Cloud as my favorite Final Fantasy protagonist. I felt like I related so much to Squall. We got to hear his innermost thoughts and feelings, and we got to see him struggle, which I always appreciate. I never really like when a character just kind of gets their way all the time. This story, I know, it's crazy, but listen, it was a wild ride, and I loved every second of it. I just, wow, it was so wild, and I'm literally speechless because I can't say anything or else it would be spoilers. But just know you're on a wild ride with this one. Every moment to me is worth it. I will say characters other than Squall were not really developed too well, especially Irvine. And Quistis I felt like was really lacking for being as popular as she is. Really don't understand that. Rinoa as well. There were some scenes with Rinoa where she's really flirty and really cute, and I felt like that's the most development she really got. And then Selfie was another one of my favorites in this one besides Squall, where she was just really sassy and like so brutal, and she made me laugh so hard so many times. I just really enjoyed her. But other than that, there wasn't really any depth to them. That was kind of disappointing to see. But Squall really carried the game for me. The gameplay I know is a contentious subject. I didn't really mind it. I didn't think the junction system was as bad as people were saying it was. Yes, it was annoying to draw a lot to get magic and stuff. And yes, it was annoying to like switch over all of your stuff to other characters. But I think those are just minor details, and they didn't really affect my journey too much. I just really ended up loving the story so much and loving Squall so much. Like, I just have such fond memories of this game. And the story was the least predictable story I've ever encountered in my whole entire life. So yeah, I am proud to say Final Fantasy VIII is one of my new favorite games of all time. And I'm really happy about that. I'm an FF8 stan. Squall is a very solid pro tag. Yeah, I believe he's pretty well written. Yeah. I would have liked a little bit more with young Squall, but you know what? It's okay. Story's nonsense, but Squall and Laguna are amazing. Yeah, Laguna was another highlight. He was so cute. Give me a himbo. Literally give me a himbo and I will cherish him forever. So I really did enjoy Laguna as well, and his story. And just the way that, like, everything connected by the end of it, like, everything made sense, except for Norg. But Norg is cool. Like, I don't have a problem with him at all. I'm a Norg fan. Norg Nation Unite. Norg is hot. Story's nonsense. I feel like it's not nonsense. It is wild and crazy and ambitious. But all the plot points make sense. Like, everything connected by the end. Oh yeah, the soundtrack for FF8. One of my new favorite video game soundtracks of all time too. I still listen to Man with the Machine Gun and like all of the battle themes from like the final bosses are all bangers. I think maybe I should make a new tier for these. I tried Dirge of Cerberus. And listen, this game is also another game that people are really conflicted on. I didn't love the gameplay. I don't think I really need to expand more on that. But I really love Vincent's character. I think he's just really hot, you know? And he's a vampire, and I freaking love vampires. But I expected more development in this game. He just felt like a cool guy, you know? And I wanted more. The story, what was that? Like, what? Like, people told me the story is good. Like, what do you mean? Like, I literally had no idea what the hell was going on after a certain point. I ended up dropping this game. I didn't finish it, but I did play quite a bit of it, so that's why I'm gonna put it on here. I'm sorry, but it's trash. There was nothing redeemable about it except Yuffie's in there, and she's really cute and funny. And also Vincent is hot. I literally had no idea what was going on. Literally no fucking clue what was happening. Lol, a tier below trash, even more trash. I like that. Yeah, that's where it belongs. This is nicer than I thought. I like that one, but it's aged the most poorly out of any games I've played. I just couldn't, like, freaking see who was shooting me in Dirge to shoot them back, and, like, protecting a child through all of that who moved like a slug. So annoying. I enjoyed it back then. Now I'd rather renew my license at the DMV than play Dirge for fun. Let's just do Alan Wake. It'll be quick. My partner's been really wanting me to play this. I might still return to it someday, but to be honest with y'all, I didn't like the gameplay. I really like the concept of using the flashlight for enemies, but the enemies were relentless. They were never ending. And a lot of the locations looked very samey that I kept getting lost. I know that's a me problem. But it is what it is. It's my experience. The story is a mystery, so obviously I had no idea what the fuck was happening. I think I got pretty far in the game. Like, at least over halfway. And I still had no idea what the fuck was happening. And so I wasn't really too invested in the story anymore. Because I figured, like, they should at least give me a crumb or two by this point. Like, something to at least theorize off of, even if it's completely bogus, would have been fun. So didn't enjoy the gameplay. Not really, like, the mystery to me was kind of frustrating by that point. Didn't really love the characters. Like, I don't really give a shit about his wife, to be honest. And Alan is just like a blah, whatever character. Something is definitely up with him, but I don't really care too much. But I know that Stephen King fans rave about this game. And because my partner knows that I'm a huge reader and I love mysteries and I like horror books, I wouldn't say I'm a Stephen King fan per se. I've liked a couple of his books, but maybe that's why it didn't work for me, because it definitely reads like or plays like a Stephen King novel. FF16, I was so excited for. I played the demo, which is just the prologue, before launch, and the prologue was one of the best starts to a video game I've ever experienced. It made me really care about some characters, made me hate other ones. It made me cry so hard. And so I was really excited for this one, despite it being an action game, and I'm not a huge action game fan. But I can still enjoy them. So I got it on launch. I'm also a huge Game of Thrones fan, huge Song of Ice and Fire fan. So I was really excited, but I was also really worried because the 14 team was working on this, and I'm not a fan of the FF14 story. So I was worried about that, and I think I was rightfully worried about it because, listen, there are some really high highs in FF16, but in between those, there's like nothingness. It has a lot of pacing issues for that reason. A lot of the side quests were very dull and boring. Didn't give a lot of good rewards even. Definitely a highlight is the voice acting and the graphics for sure. But like they did something in the 16 story that is a huge pet peeve for me. I'm not gonna say what it is. I'm not gonna spoil it. It just made me feel a little bit like disappointed and like honestly robbed, and pissed me off quite a bit. It's fine, like maybe it'll get better. And then I just didn't feel like it was getting better. I started to get pretty bored. There were some really cool big moments, like I said, but they would last like 5 minutes, and then you'd have like 2 or 3 hours of just like nothingness, waiting for the next big moment. So I'm gonna say, I don't know if I'm gonna go back to it. I might, but I'm gonna say it's trash. Probably my biggest disappointment. FF13. This is another contentious title in Final Fantasy. Seems to be a lot of those that I've played this year. I hated the gameplay of this so much, but I kept an open mind. I was like, you know, it'll just be a very chill battle system. That's fine. As long as the story and the characters are good, I can get through it. It'll be fine. Every single battle felt like it took a million fucking years, and so it really pissed me off. I started to avoid battles like the plague, and it really screwed me over. I kind of got soft-locked in chapter 11, which is near the end of the game. Which is when I dropped it, because I was not about to grind for hours to try and get past this game. I just watched the rest of the cutscenes. So anyway, with that being said, the characters, I thought that Lightning was a bland, absolutely nothing, boring fucking character. Didn't understand her motivations for a lot of the scenes and a lot of her like reactions to certain things. Didn't really get it. We didn't really like know much about her. Didn't really feel like a main character in the same way Terra from 6 didn't feel like a main character. But I will say I liked Hope. I know that character gets a lot of hate. I really liked Hope. And I didn't like Snow in the beginning, but like as the game progressed, I grew to love that stupid idiot so much. Like I said, I love a himbo, so it was like just It was inevitable, let me just say that. But the story was, like, not good. Oh, and I also loved viii. Viii is my favorite character, and she should have been the protagonist, because why is lightning on the cover? Like, why? Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, the story, it was good. Like, you had me in the first half, not gonna lie, but then something happened in the story. A huge pet peeve of mine, kind of similar to what happened with another game on this list. And, like, I was so mad. I felt robbed, and I hate when they do that. Maybe it's just a Square Enix thing. I don't know. I hope not. But it really pissed me off. And also the Eidolon fights. Fuck those fights. Those fights fucking sucked. They were the most unfun things I've ever done. That and the Bartandalus fight. Fuck you, Square Enix. That felt personal. And just the more and more I played this game, the more and more I fucking hated it. Hated every second after like chapter 8 or 9 or whatever. Hated it so much. So, even more trash. If I could put it in a Final Fantasy 13 sucks tier, I would. But that feels a little too aggressive. Final Fantasy 13 definitely was the worst game I've played this last year. The worst. The worst game I've played in my entire life, I think. There's my list. I hope you guys enjoyed my ranting and raving about all the games I played in 2023. Damn, no Sugoi video games. Well, I mean, there's one Sugoi, or Amazing. I mean,